Prep guide to Final Fantasy XIV tank. Disclaimer, this is meant as a joke. It is not at all super serious, in-depth guide to 14. Any jabs I throw at anyone's way of playing the game are merely for comedic purposes only, especially when it comes to people's skill and performance in playing their role. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes or not playing 100% efficiently. Everyone does it. Nobody is perfect except for me. Enjoy. Okay? You guys got it? All right, let's go.
What up, warriors of fartness? I bet you don't have the slightest clue how to play this eyeball-melting anime.
This is a great start to the video. Okay, 1 second. I got distracted by the word fartness. All right.
What up, warriors of fartness? I bet you don't have the slightest clue how to play this eyeball-melting anime game. Oh, sure, you probably know that you can beat up enemies by clicking on them until they die, but do you know how to find a static in your FC to help you prog uwu? I bet you don't even know what any of those words mean, so sit down, shut up, and eat your gissel greens, because I'm gonna teach you what thee mayhap not knoweth, thy noobliness. Welcome to a crap guide to Final Fantasy.
I love this song. This is my anthem. It plays in my head every day.
The tank is the person in the front lines of every group, leading the charge to inevitable party wipes, which is because
Never
you are the
been a
most
tank
important person
before,
in the party,
so-
having slap fights with the boss since everybody else is way too
Slap
squishy to handle
fights.
the puss-pounding patty cake. You'll never see Jimmy's soft boots eyeing up the cloud of darkness with
Sprout,
his 2x4
that's
and
me.
scriggly tree branch. But how hard can tanking be? Turn on your tank stance, do your 1-2-3 combo, and blame the healers when you die, right? That sounds like somebody who needs their short Q privileges revoked. Firstly, tank stance. You turn this on to start gaining enmity. What's enmity? It's where you shout at the bad guys,
Enmity?
"Hey, hit me!" They'll be paying attention to you so long as you're dealing damage, so you better be dealing damage and not just having a staring contest. If you don't, then they're gonna start indiscriminately charging at the rest of the party like a dog in a movie theater. If you are the designated main tank, or in light parties the only tank, make sure this is on. If there is another tank in the party and you are the off tank,
This is good
make
advice
sure
for
this
me who's
is
never
off,
been a
unless
tank
there's some
before.
other bad guys you gotta pull. If you have conflicting stances with the other tank, they will chuck their shoulder pads at you. As a tank, you should make sure the bad guy's ass is facing the party as often as possible, as indicated by the bright glowing half-eaten donut underneath the target. This is so that if the bad guy sneezes, you're the only one getting down
Bad
with the
guy
sickness. And also, if your
sneezes.
party has anyone playing any jobs that particularly likes to clap them cheeks, you've provided a bright, shiny spanking
I like
space.
clapping
On
them
top of this,
cheeks.
as a tank, you are, by Heidelin's blessings, horrible at dancing, which is why you should move as little as possible once you've got the enemy's attention. That way, the party can continue to whap the wumpus without having to chase down the bad guy's glorious booty.
I'm learning
Just as
a
well,
lot.
because you have control of where the baddies are, you control how useful everybody else is. So if somebody puts down a useful AoE, stop running away from it. Now that you have the baddies' attention and are in a nice, cozy poking
The
position, you don't have to worry about
screams.
anything else, right? Ah, that's what I thought you'd say, you dumb horse. Believe it or not, when you die, it's not entirely the healer's fault, just mostly their fault. That little bit of responsibility
Healer
you have
sucks.
is based on how well you can juggle mitigation. What's mitigation? It's the buttons that make the bad guy's slaps hurt less that you sometimes press once a subscription and never think about again. You ever wonder why you have several of those buttons that all seem like they do the same thing? Well, that's because you're supposed to space them out over the course of a fight so the healers don't have to sacrifice their entire mana pool and firstborn child to get your frail ass through the dungeon. Remember not to bust your tanking load all at once, or else you're gonna feel a lot of shame when you're all out
Tanking
of juice and the
load?
boss
Don't
still
bust
wants to
your
go about
tanking
4 more
load,
rounds. Every
guys.
tank also has a press X to not die button that can be used to survive any devastating attacks, or if you're a really aggressive paladin who drew every enemy in a dungeon ever and don't want the healer to hire a hitman on you. As for what your limit break does, tanks are thicker than the average Disney mom, to the point your honky chonky
The
donkey
average
bahonky
Disney
extends
mom?
to the rest of the party,
Man,
protecting
Mrs.
them from
Incredible
damage up
is
to a
really
whopping
thick, though. She
80%
fine.
at LB3. The thing is, unless you're a high-end player, you'll probably be using tank LB as frequently as a good player rolls high on loot. Overall, you have 4 flavors to choose from: punk, grunge, metal, and Christian rock. There's warrior
Christian
for big
rock?
axes, big anger, big self-healing, and if you like to do fell cleaves again and again and again and again. If you prefer more brooding than cruding, the Dark Knight is great for doing your best guts impression. You get a huge ass
Yes,
sword, goopy black
that's
energy
me.
particle effects, and the
I wanna be
literal best
guts.
mitigation in the entire game. But it's balanced because they get the worst invulnerability button in the entire game. You press it and then it makes you die. Gunbreaker is called a tank, but
Die.
everybody knows it's just 3 DPS and
Then
a
it
trench
makes
coat
you
as designated
die.
by the fact you get a gun and your swings explode. But you have to be a hardcore gamer since it requires a lot of cartridges. And finally, the paladin, who tries to pretend they're a healer and caster, but only when the other healers and casters are looking.
Seems
but f all
legit.
that, because the most important thing is that you get the motherfucking sword and shield, baby!
Hell
Try
yeah,
to get
fuck
behind
yeah.
this wall of holiness, bitch! Now you
Wall
know how to
of
play tank, you're
holiness.
welcome.
Now we know how to tank perfectly, guys. I learned so much. I've never been a tank before, but damn, I think I'm ready to take it on. Who wants to parg with me?